Hello everyone, my name is Amanda Proia. This presentation will discuss a risk assessment of Boston, Massachusetts, the City of Champions. The assessment will be an evaluation that includes the identification of 3 hazards, the likelihood of those 3 hazards occurring in that community, and the impact each hazard would have on the community. The objectives of this presentation will cover 10 main topics. First, the introduction will explain a little about the City of Boston's background, covering the community, culture, and demographics. Next, the presentation will discuss the transportation and infrastructure of Boston. Then, the next sections will cover schools, medical establishments, law enforcement, government offices, and stakeholders. Next, there will be a discussion about 3 different hazards that have the potential to occur in the City of Boston. Then, the presentation will discuss the contributors to these potential hazards. Lastly, the presentation will have a conclusion before the final slides produce the references used for this presentation and a thank you for those listening. Boston is not only the capital of Massachusetts, but it is the largest city in Massachusetts and the 23rd largest city in the entire United States. Boston was founded in 1630, making it one of the oldest cities in the country, and it was the scene of many important events in the American Revolution, such as the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, the Battle of Bunker Hill, and the Siege of Boston. The city is rich in American history and a huge sports hub, home to the New England Patriots, Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox, and Boston Celtics. Boston consists of approximately 90 square miles and is home to one of the most densely populated regions in the United States. The city of Boston had a population of 694,583 people in 2018, but the greater Boston area is home to an estimated 4.7 million people, making it the 10th largest metropolitan area in the United States. Boston has a density of 13,841 people per square mile, and Greater Boston is the 4th most densely populated region in the United States after the New York metro area, Greater Los Angeles, and the South Florida metro area. Interestingly, Boston's actual population fluctuates rapidly between day and night, as well as during special events. It is estimated that 1.2 million people are in the city during work hours, 2 million people are in the city during special events, and hundreds of thousands of residents in the suburbs commute to the city for education, healthcare, and work. As of 2017, the median household income was approximately $62,021, with approximately 20% of the population in poverty. Today, the city is an international center for medicine and higher learning. Boston is a majority-minority city, as the city has experienced a great deal of gentrification in the last decade. The racial composition of Boston is 52.76% white, 25.26% African American, 9.48% Asian, 0.37% Native American, 0.03% Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, 4.95% 2 or more races, and 7.15% other races. Boston's population is 27% foreign-born. Recent immigrants to the area come mostly from Latin America and Asia. The single largest ethnic group in Boston is Irish, with 15.8% of the population, followed by Italians with 8.3% of the population. South Asians account for a substantial amount of Boston's immigration, and there are approximately 25,000 Jews in Boston. Additionally, Boston has the 10th largest Indian population in the United States. Many immigrants come to Boston for education and work, specifically science and technology jobs. Thanks to this immigration boom, Boston's population is also growing younger, as nearly 1/3 of its residents are 20 to 34 years old, which is younger than most other major cities in the country. Today, Boston is a thriving port city and home to many tourist attractions. Now that we've discussed some of the background of the city of Boston, we're going to discuss the transportation and infrastructure. The Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, or MBTA, is Boston's public transportation system. The MBTA is in charge of the subway, the commuter rail, buses, and ferry routes. The subway has 5 lines: the Red Line, the Orange Line, the Green Line, the Blue Line, and the Mattapan Line, and runs through Boston into Cambridge and into nearby suburbs, providing access to all the attractions located in Boston. Additionally, the commuter rail is a train that has 13 different lines that helps commuters from all over the state get into the city for work or other special events. There are multitudes of bus routes that can get you almost anywhere, and there are two ferries, the Charlestown Ferry and the Hull Ferry. Additionally, the city of Boston is home to the Logan International Airport, which opened in 1923, employs 17,000 people, hosts 4.044 million passengers per month, and has approximately 40 flights per month. Not all commuters come by subway, train, bus, ferry, or plane. Additionally, people commute via car. The interstate highways in Massachusetts comprise of 5 primary interstate highways and 8 auxiliary interstates. The longest interstate highway in Massachusetts is I-90, also known as the Mass Pike, with 136 miles, followed by I-495 with 121 miles. Lastly, there are 9 bridges between Cambridge and Boston over the Charles River. However, the most famous is the Leonard P. Zachem Bunker Hill Memorial Bridge. Boston has 3 major arenas: the TD Garden, which is the home of the Boston Celtics and Boston Bruins, the Agganis Arena at Boston University, and the Matthews Arena at Northeastern University. Boston also has Fenway Park, where the Boston Red Sox play. The New England Patriots play out of Foxborough and not Boston. There are numerous other tourist attractions besides sports, which include the Boston Public Library, the Freedom Trail, Faneuil Hall Marketplace and Quincy Market, the Boston Common, the Science Museum, the Museum of Fine Arts, duck boat tours, and many more. Next, we're going to discuss some of the schools in Boston. The Boston area's many colleges and universities make it an international center of higher education. The biggest colleges and universities in Boston include Boston University, Boston College, Northeastern University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT, University of Massachusetts Boston, Bunker Hill Community College, Suffolk University, Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, MCPHS University, Berklee College of Music, Emerson College, Wentworth Institute of Technology, Simmons College, Emmanuel College, Massachusetts College of Art and Design, Fisher College, Wheelock College, MGH Institute of Health Professions, Bay State College, New England College of Business and Finance, and Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology, etc. These are only a few of the higher education opportunities that the city of Boston provides. There are also numerous elementary, middle, and high schools in the city of Boston and the greater Boston area, both public and private. 86.1% of the population in Boston has a high school degree or higher, and 47.4% of the population has a bachelor's degree or higher. Next, we'll discuss some of the medical establishments in the city. When it comes to advancing innovation, the Boston area is one of the world's most vital resources for a number of industries, especially healthcare. Boston is a medical hub of the healthcare economy. It is home to 79 hospitals, including top academic medical centers and research institutions. Examples of some hospitals in Boston include the Arbor Hospital, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, Boston Medical Center Corporation, Brigham and Williams Faulkner Hospital, Kearny Hospital, Long Island Hospital, Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary, Massachusetts General Hospital, or MGH, Massachusetts Mental Health Center, New England Deaconess Campus, and Tufts Medical Center. Again, these are only to name a few. Additionally, Boston is home to one of the largest pediatric medical centers in the country, Boston Children's Hospital, with 404 beds, 40 clinical departments, and 258 specialized clinical programs. Boston Children's Hospital cares for children of all ages and in some cases offers fetal interventions and treatments for adults. U.S. News and World Report ranked Boston Children's Hospital the #1 children's hospital. Next, we'll discuss Boston's law enforcement, government offices, and stakeholders. The Boston Police Department, also known as BPD, is responsible for law enforcement investigations within the city of Boston. It is the 20th largest law enforcement agency in the country and the largest in New England. BPD serves 12 districts and consists of many different divisions. These divisions include the Forensic Technology Division, which itself consists of the Crime Laboratory Unit, the Firearm Analysis Unit, and the Latent Print Unit, the Family Justice Division, the Media Relations Division, the Internal Affairs Division, the Boston Police Harbor Unit, the Boston Police Rescue/Recovery Dive Team, the Boston Police Licensing Division, the Boston Police Special Operations Unit, which includes highway patrol, traffic enforcement, crowd control, and SWAT services, the IT Division, and the Boston Police Gaelic Column of Pipes and Drums, which performs at police events and Boston parades. As of 2017, the Boston Police Department had a staffing level of about 2,136 people. The highest-ranking officer, the police commissioner, is currently William Gross. The Boston Municipal Court Department serves the City of Boston, handling both criminal and civil matters, and has 30 judges serving the City of Boston in 8 court divisions. Besides both criminal and civil cases, the Boston Municipal Court Department also has jurisdiction to review some government agency actions, such as unemployment compensation appeals and firearm license appeals. Boston has a mayor-council government system for the city. Boston's current mayor is Martin J. Walsh. Mayors are elected every 4th year, while Boston City Council members are elected every 2 years. The school committee oversees the Boston Public Schools, and the mayor appoints the members. State authorities include the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, the Boston Public Health Commission, the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, and the Massachusetts Port Authority. Boston is home to several federal facilities as well. These include the John F. Kennedy Federal Office Building, the Thomas P. O'Neill Jr. Federal Building, the John W. McCormick Post Office and Courthouse, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, the United States Courts of Appeals for the First Circuit, and the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts. The first hazard to be discussed will be natural hazards. Being part of New England and on the East Coast, Boston has the potential to be hit with many different natural hazards depending on the season. With the crazy weather that New England has, these natural hazards could include anything from tornadoes and earthquakes to floods, rainstorms, snowstorms, and blizzards. These hazards are natural, not man-made, and have the potential to be a negative impact on the Boston community. By definition, a hazard is a potential dormant, absent, or contained threat. And a threat is any actor or agent whose capacity to harm you is not currently avoided, contained, inactive, or deactivated. A threat can be the result of natural events, accidents, or intentional acts to cause harm. It is important to know the difference between a hazard and a threat. A hazard and a threat are different states of the same thing. A hazard would do no harm unless it were to change into a threat. These natural hazards do not affect the community until they are activated into a threat. If that is the case, then these above examples of natural hazards could negatively affect Bostonians' transportation to work and school, as well as telecommunications. Floods, rainstorms, snowstorms, and blizzards can cause horrible commutes, traffic accidents, loss of power to work, home, or school, and both physical injury and property damage, such as icicles falling on someone, electric shock from a downed telephone pole, a caved-in roof, or a downed tree. The number of natural disasters that have occurred in Suffolk County, the county Boston is in, is 31, which is a lot greater than the entire country's average of 13. There have been 18 major disasters declared by the President and 13 state of emergencies declared. The causes of these natural disasters include 11 floods, 8 storms, 7 hurricanes, 5 snowstorms, 4 winter storms, 3 blizzards, 1 explosion, 1 fire, 1 heavy rain, 1 snowfall, 1 water main break, and 1 windstorm. The likelihood of a tornado and an earthquake hitting Boston are much smaller than the likelihood of the other natural hazards occurring, which are actually fairly common. Tornado activity in the Boston area is near the Massachusetts state average, being 45% smaller than the overall U.S. average. On June 9, 1953, a Category F4 tornado, 22.1 miles away from the Boston city center, killed 90 people and injured 1,228 people, and caused between $50 million and $500 million in damages. Earthquake activity in the Boston area is also near Massachusetts state average, being 90% smaller than the overall U.S. average. On July 22, 2003, a magnitude 3.6 earthquake occurred, 62.6 miles away from the city center. Financial considerations for natural disasters would be the cost of employing the cleanup crew after a natural hazard ensues, such as public works. Public Works will be in charge of storm preparation and management throughout the duration of the storm, as well as the cleanup afterwards. For example, sanding and salting roads, plowing, cutting and removing falling tree branches. Any help by contributors, such as the police, fire department, or paramedics, will also have to be considered. The police have to direct traffic in these horrible conditions, as well as respond to traffic accidents in which the fire department may be needed in order to help cut someone out of their car or contain a fire. In the case of traffic accidents or other injuries that ensue throughout the storm, paramedics will step in to care to the injured. The local police and local firefighters are paid through their department, and the state police details are paid by the state. Public works are paid by the state, and medical professionals are paid by their respective hospital. Mitigation techniques involving natural hazards and storms include proper training for first responders as well as the public. These trainings should include basic preparedness strategies. These strategies should include things such as developing emergency plans, stockpiling supplies, purchasing things to be safer, duplicating important documents, etc. Broken down, these could include how to properly prepare for large-scale storms, the proper use of tools, how to stock up on necessary supplies, how to check the safety of their homes, such as necessary roof repairs, how to check the safety of their vehicle, such as upgrading to new tires and brakes, especially in the wintertime, and how to keep themselves and their loved ones safe, which in some instances means simply staying home from work. By educating the public and first responders in natural hazards, it will minimize the risk of physical injuries. However, some property damage may be inevitable. Lastly, an important mitigation technique and recovery strategy would be to communicate important information to the public that will help to reduce the public fear of the impending natural hazard, or help to minimize the cleanup process and minimize the devastation of the hazard that has already commenced. The second hazard to be discussed will be the hazard of a shooting. Our country has seen a rise in school shootings in the last decade, creating an all-new hazard for children, parents, and teachers to be worrisome about every day. Schools have not been the only target of shootings. Examples include the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting of 2012, the 2012 Aurora, Colorado shooting during a midnight screening of the film The Dark Knight Rises, and the shooting at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival in Las Vegas in 2017. With the media displaying these recent mass shootings of schools, movie theaters, and concerts, terror has quickly risen across the public. These hazards are not natural, but rather are man-made and intentional. The hazard of a shooting, no matter the target location, has the potential to leave a negative impact on the Boston community. Shootings could negatively affect Bostonians' lifestyles by putting fear into the lives of the community, students, parents, teachers, sport fans, concertgoers, and movie fanatics. Additionally, if the hazard of a shooting did turn into a threat, an active shooter situation could negatively affect the community by loss of life. The likelihood of a shooting occurring in Boston is high, since it is a large city that houses many schools and movie theaters and is a hub for many sporting events and concerts. Schools are easier targets than concerts or movies due to the public nature of it, whereas concert venues and theaters require a ticket for admittance, and public happenings, such as sport games and concerts, are often prepared with security. Financial considerations that will come into play regarding the hazard of shootings would include the cost for emergency preparedness, such as training and security measures. The budget will go to metal detectors, security officers whom conduct badge checks at public events and schools, and the cost to train the officers, teachers, and students. The financial costs for emergency preparedness would be worth the safety that will come from it. Mitigation techniques would include training, as mentioned above, for the officers, teachers, and students. Other mitigation techniques include security measures such as metal detectors, manned security officers in schools and arenas, and the requirement of bag and backpack checks. Additionally, public education campaigns should be created to motivate public preparedness for shootings. In the event that a shooting does occur, recovery strategies should include therapy and counseling for those individuals affected. The third and final hazard to be discussed will be the hazard of a terrorist attack. Terrorist attacks are often shown on the television and social media platforms, such as online news. The news is probably why Americans perceive terrorism with such a high sensitivity to risk. The public perception of terrorism varies based on each individual and each individual's experience. Terrorism may affect individuals by increasing feelings of uncertainty, fear, and risk aversion, which are widely known to affect behavior. Additionally, exposure to terrorism may lead to fear conditioning, in which repeated exposure to terrorist attacks, for example through the media or actual experience, may activate fear circuitry in the brain, thus exacerbating emotions. Boston experienced a terrorist attack with the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, so this topic hits very close to home. The Boston Marathon bombing resulted in the death of 3 spectators and a policeman and injured 264 spectators. It was the first major terrorist act in the United States since the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. This hazard is not natural, but rather man-made and intentional. The hazard of a terrorist attack has the potential to leave a negative impact on not only the Boston community, but also many from afar. Terrorist attacks can sometimes be completely random or well thought out and planned. Terrorism may impact individuals residing far away from the actual place of the attack through family and friends of those involved. Specifically, using the example of the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013, other impacts to the community included the aftermath of the attack, which led to an extensive manhunt involved a shelter in place for 1 million Bostonians, door-to-door searches by armed military and law enforcement officers, the shutdown of public transport, shootings, and a carjacking. Lastly, a terrorist attack could negatively affect the community by loss of life. The likelihood of occurrence is still relevant, but much less now that a tragic event, being the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, already occurred, making the city of Boston stronger and better prepared if another attack does ensue. Financial considerations that would come into play regarding the hazard of a terrorist attack would include the cost for emergency preparedness, such as training and security measures. The budget will go to metal detectors, security officers, and the cost to train the officers. The financial cost for emergency preparedness would be worth the safety that would come from it. Mitigation techniques would include training, as mentioned above, for the officers. Officers should be trained how to work details of this caliber. In the example of the Boston Marathon, police officers will not only be on details for security purposes, but also helping to direct traffic so as not to congest the streets and clear the way for the runners. The blocked-off streets should have a patrol vehicle monitoring several blocks from the start and finish lines for any unwelcome guests. Police should be prepared to look for illegally parked vehicles, unattended backpacks, shopping bags, suitcases, etc., and any individuals that try to enter restricted areas. Other mitigation techniques include security measures such as metal detectors, foot patrol officers, and the requirement of bag and backpack checks by both spectators and runners. In addition to the bag checks, the police should utilize explosive detection canine teams, in other words, bomb-sniffing dogs. There should also be metal fencing surrounding the starting line and finishing line to barricade the spectators from the runners. The entrances and exits for both spectators and runners should be controlled and monitored as well. Additionally, there are also security cameras from local businesses and traffic cameras monitoring the entire race path to increase security. Officers not on foot patrol will monitor these cameras. Communication by all parties involved is another mitigation technique and will be key to a successful race and the safety of both the runners and spectators. Volunteers whom help runners collect their bibs should also be trained in security and emergency preparedness, so when they see something, they can say something to the proper authorities. Emergency response teams will be on standby, all ready for the runners at the finish line, and will be aware of the event in case of an emergency or to tend to injured or sick runners. Lastly, a mitigation technique would be to create a public education campaign to motivate public preparedness for terrorism. Public education campaigns should address the difference between a hazard and a threat, giving it the potential to reduce public fear. Additionally, campaigns should provide a preparedness plan in the event that the hazard of terrorism does change into a threat. This way, the public can better understand the hazard associated with terrorism, how improbable it is for a terrorist attack to occur, and what to do in the event that one does occur. A contributor is an actor or agent in a positive state. A contributor is the complete opposite of the definition of a threat. Since a threat is an actor or agent in a harmful state, a contributor could be anything that contributes positively to the management of emergencies. Contributors to the three hazards above include, but are not limited to, law enforcement officers, both local and state, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, and other healthcare professionals, etc. Contributors also include public works and other employees. However, many people think of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics when they think of contributors. Additionally, the public themselves can be considered contributors if they see suspicious activity and know where to report it. Boston is a very diverse port city that many people call home. It has a large commuter population and a large tourist population. Others travel to the city for attractions such as sports games, parades, and concerts. There are many hazards that have the potential to threaten the people of Boston, whether the individuals live there or visit the city for work, school, or tourism. With the experience and training of the Boston Police Department and other contributors, Boston can be prepared for anything. Following the Boston Marathon bombing of 2013, it is hard not to believe that the people of Boston are anything but Boston strong. Here are the references used for this presentation. Thank you for listening.